Victoria's back.
And our heroes give chase.
Between the Cullens chasing for her and the wolves, because she's going back from Cullen territory to wolf territory.
It's really intense because we all want to kill each other.
I mean, it is the perfect way to start the movie off.
In the book, Bella only hears about the ravine confrontation after the fact. What I was able to do is to take that off-screen encounter from the book, and we actually get to see it.
It's something which is quite small in the book that I felt, you know, I'd really like to see. That'd be like a really fun thing to see.
David then took that and just went full bore with it.
Really get the arms going.
A.J. Forrester was my second unit director, and he was wonderful. He was completely and utterly on the same plane.
His mandate for the sequence was fast, fast, fast. This is a car chase.
One of the biggest challenges of the movie has always been to capture vampire speed, as Stephanie described it in her books.
David came up with this idea, we call it the magic carpet.
It's like a 4-foot wide piece that we towed on a computerized winch that just hauled people along.
And you've got your actors literally running at full speed, but everything's whizzing by, all the trees in the background.
So it's kind of like that thing when you're at an airport and someone's on the walkway alongside of you and they're walking, but they're going faster than you. It's that same thing. So long as you're not seeing their feet, it feels like they're actually going very fast, but in fact they're going as fast as humans can, plus the 30 or 40 clicks that the pickup truck is adding to what they're doing. The magic carpet looks really great, but it can only do certain things. So then you have to find other ways of making that same look happen.
Once you start putting it all together, some of it works as planned, some of it doesn't. So that's when the rest of our team kind of kicks into action.
Victoria leaps and bounds through, sort of like a deer or an antelope would through an environment, which is, you know, the human equivalent of that is sort of parkour. So we've got these great gymnasts who, either with a little bit of help from trampolines and air rams and things, are able to do some pretty amazing stuff.
There were some things that the stunt actors just couldn't do, so we also have computer-generated digital double characters in that scene, and we have the performances of these computer-generated werewolves running through it at the same time.
The ravine was just hard to figure out what we were doing. The guys from Image Engine came up with a very simple way of scanning environments, so they would go back to these places in the woods and sort of do a video scan of the location and then bring it into previs and run around on it.
For sequences that involve visual effects, you want to hand it off to a previs artist, because what you're trying to do is sort of look at the shots you're going to need that will have a wolf in them later and make sure that that's what you shoot on the day when you don't have the wolf there.
We use pre-visualization to literally conceive how to shoot the plates in general and how to shoot the elements resulting from those plates.
Then do a post-viz process on those plates and animate CG characters in the scenes, and that would give us the data that we needed to know to then go to the green screen stage.
So then when we're on set filming the green screen footage, they actually had a mini little cut already sliced together, and they could use that to try and block out their green screen angles to see how their character was going to move through the scene. And that's how we went about shooting all that footage.
And then those elements are again taken back into CG and projected into what we're calling a digital magic carpet, where we're actually animating the elements in 3D space that then end up getting composited into the show.
By using pre-visualization, it allows you to know exactly what you're going into a remote location to shoot, and you literally just don't have time to waste. So it's all about efficiencies, really.
Action!
The watchword on this was to try to be superhuman, not supernatural, in order to try to keep it interesting to look at.
Just wanted to try and do something fresh and different on this that would, at the same time, you would accept.
The ravine chase is something that in its totality is really something that we're pretty proud of.
We really touched on almost every technique used in computer graphics to effectively execute on that sequence.
So for the first time in the movies, we're really seeing vampires run through the woods at a speed that is impossible to sort of accomplish with real performers. It's gonna, I think, be a pretty fantastic sequence.
On every show, we try and take advantage of the next leap in technology and sophistication. Usually the first model is basically our beta testing things. So we're working out all of the issues, mostly in terms of look and dynamics. The trick, of course, was take the version of what we had on New Moon and turn it into the next version up. I'm Phil Tippett, and I'm a visual effects supervisor and wolf wrangler. You know, when you're doing creatures that people are very familiar with, like cats and dogs, you know, wolves certainly fall into the canine category. So a tremendous amount of effort is put into, you know, studying canine behavior. Wolves act and behave differently than dogs.
So my job was to basically rely a lot upon reference. What we had shot when we went down to Wolf Mountain and sat with the wolves for an entire day in their pens.
The director really wanted to get the wolves as looking as absolutely realistic as possible. And that was fine by us and fine by the animators. We're really excited by that. We wanted an opportunity to really get to the nitty-gritty of the wolves.
And find out how that might relate to the characters that we're portraying in the film.
And ultimately what we ended up doing was what David called a leaner and meaner wolf.
We changed the proportions slightly.
Giving him a tummy tuck and basically beefing up musculature. And then we shortened the fur a little bit just so that you could start to read that musculature. Then David said, well, what about more and finer fur? We already had millions of hairs on our creatures. So we were like, well, we're not sure we can do that, but we can try.
We pushed a lot of our technology further than we've ever pushed it on Eclipse. That's the work of our brilliant technical art director, Aaron.
There's like a groom program that runs on the outside of the wolf and it grows all the hairs all over the wolf. So it was like an on-the-fly filling in of fur. I think even King Kong only had 4 or 5 million hairs on it, and we were able to get almost 20.
The new wolves are Seth and Leia and Quill.
Quill is sort of just another member of the pack. He's very similar to the other guys that we've already seen in the last movie.
Seth is a much smaller, younger wolf than everybody else.
So his wolf has a different set of markings. You know, he's a lighter tan colored wolf.
Leia is our female wolf, so we wanted to make like a cool, sexy wolf that had a non-guy presence.
You know, and you do that through posing and a little bit of groom, you know, and just a little bit of shaping of the muzzle.
Leah is a light gray wolf, and so we pulled some of the coloration from Seth into Leah to create that relationship between them.
I read this script, and I was like, wow, we're at war. This is gonna be the best. I'm gonna be like, you know, Jet Li in this world. Oh, wait. Whenever I do anything cool or anything action-oriented, I am a wolf.
This movie has its own very unique challenges because of sheer scale. What they had to do with wolves on the last movie it pales by comparison. The level of interaction is 2 orders of magnitude greater. Basically, you had to get an eye line, and now they have to actually jump on each other, bite, roll over, and, you know, somebody dies. It's much more difficult to figure out how to do that.
Primarily, my bread and butter is in the setup and the layout and making sure that we've got what we need on the set. Because in addition to just getting the shots, there's a tremendous amount of technical type work that needs to be done in order to place the wolves back into the shots.
We are looking at one of our 4 wolf standees. And these guys basically tell us how large the wolves are, get the camera framed up, get the actors on the eye line, stuff like that.
Give me an open shot. And you took it. See that?
The sticks of fur, or fur loaves, as we like to call them, are basically 4 different colors of fur. They represent 4 different kinds of shades of the actual wolves, and we hold them up under the lights so we can kind of get a reference for what they're supposed to look like. So when we do it digitally, we can match as close as possible.
My job is basically to survey the set, and I'll strategically shoot points on this hill right here to define what that hill is, and I'll use those points so that we can build a 3D model of it later, so that our wolves have something to stand on, and the animators know where in space things sat.
Hey, Jake.
There was a great deal more personal interaction between our wolf characters and the humans in this case. There's an intimate moment where Jacob joins Bella. So in that particular instance, Taylor was dressed up in a kind of a non-reflective gray outfit and actually acted the scene with Kristen to get the right kind of eye lines and motivation and all of that kind of thing. So that was very carefully laid out.
The way the sequence was originally designed, Jacob just comes up to Bella, and they sort of, you know, just are right next to each other, and they're talking, and it's very cute and beautiful. And David said, in this shot, I want you to sort of put your head down, and Kristen, you just sort of rub his head. That was not exactly what we had expected. How are we going to actually get her hand moving around his fur?
We know that's going to be a technical challenge.
Of course, what we have to do ultimately is cover Taylor up with a wolf, and where you see him, we have to paint him out and restore the background.
So once this gets transposed into Wolfland, it's basically a hairless wolf. Physically, her hand is actually scratching him on the forehead in this shot, and then once we send it through comp, that'll be fully realized.
There's no hiding anything on a shot like that. It's all up on the screen. So you really want your attention to be on the performance of the characters.
And you have to feel a real connection.
You know, she leans into him and he pushes her back.
And to make sure that that dynamic feels palpably performance-worthy.
The thing that's gratifying for us is we have heard repeatedly that all the girls go, oh, because they feel this connection between Jacob and Bella. I'm very happy about that for our animation team. I feel like we've been successful in that way.
It's always gratifying to get the audience's response and realize that, you know, hey, it all came together and it worked.
People look at the digital wolves not as a computer effect, but as Jacob. You know, and all of the fans of the movie are looking at these scenes and like, oh yeah, that's just how I thought he would do it. So for us, being able to focus on characters is really satisfying.
Our kind is never more physically powerful than in our first several months of this life.
Now, the two most important things to remember are first, never let them get their arms around you. They'll crush you instantly. And second, never go for the obvious kill.
Here we go.
They'll be expecting that.
Roll camera. 3, 2, 1, go.
Again!
Cut.
Well, here at Camp Howdy is where Jasper trains the Cullen family. And so right over there in that kind of circle area, that's where we do our training session.
We're shooting a fight.
You go, shoulder up, boys. Basically what it is kind of teaching vampire to vampire combat. We're trying to stay away from a lot of the martial arts elements to not make it look like a kung fu movie.
Don't hold back. Not in my nature.
We worked a lot on actual vampire combat. Because there's so much of it, we had to get a real systematic way how we all fought.
You block different and you hold your stances different. We're vampires, so we don't have to hold our boxing stance.
I'm awake now, I think.
You just want to make the styles fit the personality of who's doing it. Damn it, he's a big guy, so you want to make him more like strength-based.
He's invincible. He just bulldozes through everything. Rosalie's dirty.
Come on, Rosalie. Come on, Rosalie.
It's like if she was a human in a bar fight. She'll break a glass bottle and use it. Yeah, that's her way, but it gets the job done. And I just smile when I see it.
High five on it.
Alice is more agility-based.
Which is sometimes difficult filming, but it looks really cool when you get done.
She can jump, and she's just very pixie-like.
It's really cool to be able to have superhuman speed.
Where could she be? Oh, there she is!
She's like a dark Tinkerbell. And Jasper's just awesome.
Jasper's like the fast one, he's a little more experienced.
Which is very important with the newborns because they're just as quick.
They'll crush you instantly.
I don't like the idea of throwing punches at Ashley and Nikki. You know, something about that, I think everything my father ever taught me was, you know, I was going against. Ah!
Edward is just a stud at fighting. He doesn't have to do much. He knows when things are coming, punches or slams or anything like that.
Edward's the mix between everybody else.
It was funny because we done all the choreography for the fights. It's very, very intense and serious when we were doing it. It looked like we're trying to kill each other in rehearsals.
That hurt a little bit.
It's just very funny doing it. In the same way that me having a fight with Peter, in reality, I'd be laughing quite a lot. That was a fun scene.
All right, one quick rehearsal. Go. Here we are. This is the battlefield. This is where it all goes down. Every moment of Eclipse pointed to this battlefield right here.
We found this spot, which is a gun range. It's a field that they actually use as a gun range. We greened in over there to hide the cranes, which have to protect us with the silk, so that if it's sunny, we can shoot in shade. We have to kind of keep it so that it's consistent lighting for the 13 days that we're shooting here. We built this whole area with that tree and those rocks.
We're doing some intense stuff. We have a great department who are making sure we're safe.
We'll hand off all of the big action beats with the crane rigs and the wire gags and stuff for second unit.
E.J. Forrester was my second unit director, and he was wonderful. He's like, you want like a Swiss Army knife that does everything, and it'll be friendly to you, make you coffee. That's E.J. Forrester.
That's what you get for being late.
E.J.'s done so much stunt work.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ashley Green, working without a net.
I'm not a fan of working with second units because I'm kind of one of those people that sees something very specifically. And generally I go out and I do that myself. And my entire career I've always been the person to do it on my own. But it was fantastic to have E.J. because E.J. actually understood that and would always be asking, well, what else can we do? What else can we do to help? And they just went forward like soldiers.
3, 2, 1, action! David really wanted this heaviness to everything. He said that everything should feel weighted and heavy and solid. So when we're flinging people in the air and when they hit the ground, they're hitting the ground very hard.
The physicality of it is what you want to get.
You just keep pounding people into the ground over and over for these battles. You try to hide a mat wherever you can.
We're dealing with guys that aren't human, so we have to enhance those abilities, and the only way to do that is either visual effects or some wire type of assist. But you see pretty much all the actors doing a lot of their movements themselves.
There's ratchets, air rams, descenders.
Go!
Just once I want to try that.
Very nice. Good job, guys. I think we got that. Okay, oh, excellent, fantastic.
In the field battle, there was just a great deal of contact. Very early on, we developed what we dubbed the potato.
Or I affectionately call the pickle.
And some people got confused whether we were talking about the pickle or the potato. But it was a stand-in that we had the effects guys built. And then we know what the interior mass of them looks like. The effects guys attached like little grommets to this and ran those off to stanchions, so this thing was like hanging there. And that would allow the vampires that are in combat with wolves to actually leap and jump on these things.
This is the down and dirty way of doing stuff fast and quick out on location. Our challenge then becomes, how do we make that 1,000-pound wolf fit into what is probably less than a 10 or 15-pound foam object? And that is where on set you have to be very careful and tenacious about how you direct your actors.
We don't want you to cross this. We want you to stay kind of in this. Really love DJ on this show. We had a really good time. We're complimentary. When things are working right, you have the Vulcan mind meld thing going, and you just can anticipate each other.
He's actually hitting him though. He's coming in here. Yeah. Boom. He runs through.
Construction of the vampire army, even how vampires are constructed, what they're made of, you know, what's underneath this stuff, was something that I became very obsessed with and had many conversations with Stephanie about, and postulated many biological solutions, because when we kill these vampires, they break into pieces, and we have to know what these pieces are made of, and at least I think we do. I think it's good, because that way we can do it well.
When you break one, when you rend, we're calling it rending. When you rend a vampire, you rip them apart. You can sort of see the human structure inside there, but it's very crystalline.
That particular effect, fell to Image Engine as their thing. And so that was like, yeah, for us it was, okay.
The crystal shattering was definitely very subjective. Like, everybody had a different opinion on what it should look like, because ultimately, well, what does a person look like when they crack and break and it looks like crystal? But to agree on what looks right is very, very difficult.
We want it to look as violent as the book seems to imply that it should be, and yet at the same time stay within the levels of taste and censorship.
How do you make a PG-rated film filled with decapitations and severings that isn't going to be basically shot down by the ratings committee. So it really was about this crystal concept that allowed these actions to really take place, because otherwise they would never reach the film.
We're still PG-13, so that's been a challenge for us too, because we have some shots that are crossover shots with Image Engine. So Image Engine will deliver us a plate, for instance, with Riley's hand as just a stump, you know, with a crystalline stump. And then we have to use that for our plate. Or we have some shots where the wolf will come in, grab him, tear off that hand, and then Image Engine works on a hand, and then we composite all together in the end. It was among our top 3 challenges on the show.
In a vampire film, but this is a very different kind of thing. This is a romantic story.
This is the first day I've shot on Twilight without a kiss.
To go from darker, more abject feelings to very pure romantic scenes, to do very emotional scenes was a huge challenge and fun and a way to learn and grow. As a storyteller, you're looking for a great story. And I'm totally biased, but of all of the books, it's my favorite story. I look at the themes. I remember talking with Stephanie about this. The idea that something like love, which is dangerous, and vampires, they're dangerous too. Let's make them somehow acceptable. Well, let's make them good. Let's make them aspirational.
All right, here we go.
The Twilight universe is completely unique. The fans just really wanted Eclipse to be, I think, what they read and what they wanted it to be in their head, you know. And I hope we can do that.
Ready, and action.
I'm gonna need that ring.